Good morning, I'm Kenneth Moak.
And I'm Janae Norman. Here are the top 5 things to know this Friday. Number 1, the impeachment fight in Washington.
Democrats moving forward with the impeachment investigation are accusing President Trump of witness intimidation after he compared a whistleblower's sources to spies who commit treason.
The whistleblower claims the president tried to interfere in the 2020 election by asking Ukraine's president to investigate Joe Biden. And he accuses the White House of using a secret computer server to cover up the details of the phone call. So far, only a few Republicans have criticized the president's actions.
Number 2, a new policy from the White House. The Trump administration has announced it's planning to cap the number of refugees allowed into the U.S. next year at 18,000 people.
That will be the lowest number of refugees in decades. On to number 3, the number of Americans suffering from a vaping-related breathing illness has increased dramatically in recent days.
Federal health officials say more than 800 confirmed or probable cases have been reported from just about every state. That's a 52% increase in the last week.
Among those suffering is a man from North Carolina who started vaping last year to help him quit smoking.
It was definitely the most pain I've ever been through, and if the lung collapse didn't cure me of wanting to vape, the chest tube definitely did.
At least 13 people have now died from vaping-related illnesses.
Number 4, a cash heist at a major U.S. airport.
A baggage handler at JFK Airport has been arrested after more than $250,000 in cash disappeared around the time he went home sick. He was arrested, but that money is still missing. And finally, number 5, the hype machine is cranking up now that J-Lo and Shakira will be performing at the Super Bowl.
I'll be your hype man. The pairing was announced after months of speculation. J-Lo says a Super Bowl halftime show featuring 2 Latinas will mean a lot to their community in the U.S. She claims there's been no planning yet.
We haven't even talked about what exactly we're going to do. That's going to be the fun part. Now that the announcement's made, we can talk and we can get into the creative part of it. But we never have, so that's going to be exciting.
This is the time.
She's a champion.
They're promising the February 2nd show in Miami will be, quote, an explosion of fun and energy. No doubt about that.
Can't wait. Get right to the big story. That bombshell report accusing the White House of a cover-up.
A whistleblower claims the Trump administration used a secret computer server to hide the record of President Trump's phone call with the president of Ukraine. Lawmakers Thursday grilled the acting director of national intelligence in the first major showdown of the impeachment investigation.
Meanwhile, overnight, Bloomberg released video of President Trump lashing out, furious at both the whistleblower and the sources who provided the information. The president is heard telling supporters, "We are at war."
And this morning, the New York Times reports some lawmakers could potentially draft articles of impeachment by the end of October. But in defending the president, some Republicans say the White House kept the Ukraine call secret to prevent leaks that have plagued the White House in the past.
Let's get the latest now from ABC's Inez de la Cuartara in Washington. Inez, good morning.
Good morning, Janae and Kenneth. Well, that whistleblower statement sending shockwaves through Washington this morning. Some lawmakers say it's proof that the president tried to abuse his power, and they claim the White House tried to cover it up. This morning, allegations of a cover-up at the White House have been revealed in the whistleblower complaint that sparked the impeachment inquiry.
This is a cover-up. This is a cover-up.
If there were any doubt about the need for an impeachment proceeding, there's none now.
On Thursday, lawmakers grilled the acting director of national intelligence. He was the one who kept the whistleblower's complaint under wraps for weeks, going first to the White House instead of Congress. He defended that decision, but he also defended the whistleblower.
I think the whistleblower did the right thing. I think he followed the law every step of the way.
You don't have any reason to accuse them of disloyalty to our country or suggest they're beholden to some other country, do you?
Sir, absolutely not.
The whistleblower claims multiple U.S. government officials informed him that the President of the United States is using the power of his office to solicit interference from a foreign country in the 2020 U.S. election. The whistleblower also describes the president's phone call in July when, according to a rough transcript released by the White House, Trump asked the Ukrainian president to investigate his political rival, Joe Biden.
Is it okay for a president to pressure, any president, to pressure a foreign government for help to win an election?
It is unwarranted. It is unwelcome. It is bad for the nation to have outside interference, any foreign power.
The whistleblower also writes senior White House officials had intervened to lock down all records of the phone call, especially the word-for-word transcript, adding officials said they were directed by White House lawyers to remove the electronic transcript from the computer system in which such transcripts are typically stored and put into a separate electronic system that is otherwise used to store and handle classified information. And the whistleblower says transcripts from other calls had also been hidden before. This morning, the website Politico reports the White House began restricting who got access to transcripts of presidential calls back in 2017, when Trump's conversations with the presidents of Mexico and Australia were leaked. The source of those leaks remains unknown. Meanwhile, at Thursday's hearing, a few signs of wavering support from Republicans.
Concerning that conversation, I want to say to the president, this is not okay. That conversation is not okay. And I think it's disappointing to the American public when they read the transcript.
But the president's closest allies are sticking by him.
I don't even think it's close. It was a nothing burger for me.
So what's next in this impeachment investigation? Well, analysts say lawmakers will likely get to work trying to corroborate that whistleblower statement and likely even preparing to subpoena White House officials if they have to do that. Janae and Kenneth.
Ines, thank you.
Now to the president's response and that new video that surfaced overnight in which the president is heard comparing the whistleblower and his or her source to a spy who committed treason.
Some Democrats say the president's comments amount to witness intimidation. Here's ABC's Terry Moran.
As his acting director of national intelligence testified on Capitol Hill, behind closed doors, President Trump was venting to the staff at the U.S. mission to the UN.
And then you have sleepy Joe Biden, who's dumb as a rock. This guy was dumb on his best day. And he's not having his best day right now.
You can hear his frustration building at the whistleblower.
Who's the person that gave the whistleblower the information? Because that's close to a spy.
Then, talking about the whistleblower's sources in the White House, his thoughts turned violent.
You know what we used to do in the old days when we were smart, right? The spies and treason. Right? We used to handle it a little differently than we do now.
In the old days, spies and traitors were put to death. Later, returning to Washington, Trump deploying a familiar phrase.
I just watched a little bit of this on television. It's a disgrace to our country. It's another witch hunt. Here we go again.
But then this, a wish and maybe a strategy to derail the whole impeachment inquiry.
There should be a way of stopping it, maybe legally through the courts, but they're going to tie up our country.
The president can't stop impeachment in the courts. That's a battle he'll have to fight in Congress, but he can slow it down or sabotage it in the courts, claiming executive privilege, stopping his aides from testifying or the release of documents. The White House is gearing up and staffing up for the long legal and political battle ahead. This coming so suddenly after the president and his team thought they'd put impeachment behind them. Terry Moran, ABC News, the White House.
The president's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, is denying any wrongdoing.
He told The Atlantic magazine, quote, "It is impossible that the whistleblower is a hero, and I'm not, and I will be the hero. These morons, when this is over, I will be the hero." On Fox last night, he said it was the State Department that asked him to investigate corruption in Ukraine.
They called me, I didn't call them. They asked me if I would take a call from Yermak and if I would meet with him. And I did. And I reported it back to them. And the conversation was completely normal, and there was no bribery, there was no extortion, nothing like what Biden did. I didn't do that, and the president didn't do that. So
there's been no evidence of any wrongdoing by the Bidens. As to whether Rudy Giuliani will testify to Congress, he told NBC, quote, "I don't go in front of kangaroo courts." And a new poll finds Americans are split on the impeachment investigation. 49% approve of the inquiry, but 46% oppose it, including many independent voters. The poll was conducted Wednesday before the whistleblower complaint was released.
And House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said the actions taken by President Trump brings the country to a place that she never thought it would be. Speaking at a pro-choice event in Washington, Pelosi told the audience she didn't think the founding fathers ever thought a president would do such a thing. And she said she doesn't take the impeachment inquiry lightly.
And I know this is not a political occasion, and I don't think the action of an inquiry is a political move. It's not about politics. It's not about partisanship. It's about patriotism. It's about protecting our Constitution. This is not a celebration to say we've taken this step. It's a really sad step for us to have to take, but sadly, we had no choice.
Hillary Clinton spoke at the same event last night saying, quote, "The president poses a clear and present danger to our future and to our democracy."
Stay with abcnews.com and the ABC News app for the latest on the impeachment investigation with live updates every hour and breaking news as it happens.
And also making news this morning, one soldier was killed and 3 others injured during a Black Hawk helicopter crash at Fort Polk, Louisiana. The crew was on a medevac mission picking up a soldier who suffered a heat-related injury during a training exercise. None of the injuries are considered life-threatening. No word yet on what caused the crash, but an investigation is underway.
And Pentagon officials are grappling with a troubling trend. Suicides among active duty troops have surged.
According to the Pentagon, young enlisted men are most at risk. Military and defense leaders say they are committed to do more to train service members on how to handle stress better and encourage troops to seek help when they need it.
A major data breach at food delivery service DoorDash. The personal information of nearly 5 million customers, employees and merchants has been stolen. The breach occurred in May, but the company says it didn't notice unusual activity until this month. And a third parent is heading to prison in the college admissions cheating scandal.
Los Angeles business executive Steven Sempervivo has been sentenced to 4 months behind bars. He paid $400,000 to get his son into Georgetown as a fake tennis recruit. Earlier this week, another business executive father was sentenced to 4 months. Legal experts say prison time is also likely for actress Lori Loughlin if she's convicted.
Well, coming up, is your dog a Frankenstein monster? Why the creator of one popular breed says he regrets ever doing it.
But first, Prince Harry walks in his mother's footsteps in Africa. After this.
So, you cold?
I am cold. That's why I have this blanket.
It seems like you're like the queen of Zamunda right now.
Actually, that's what I was going for. I'm not cold. I was just wearing my royal furs. Thank you for asking. Speaking of royal furs, now to the royal couple on their road trip through Africa.
Prince Harry visited Botswana yesterday, a country that he holds very dear and special to him because of the meaning, as he follows his mother's footsteps this morning in Angola. ABC's Maggie Rulli is there.
Prince Harry solo in Botswana, a place with great meaning for him.
I came here when I was 97, 98, straight after my mum died, so it was a nice place to get away from it all. But now I feel deeply connected to this place and to Africa.
A touching tribute from a son to his mother, as Princess Diana's legacy echoes throughout the royals' tour. Her presence felt here in Africa, as the family of 3 has now split up to cover twice the ground, with Harry in Botswana focusing on those charities he holds close to his heart.
I don't think there's anyone that's not involved in conservation in somehow or shouldn't be involved in conservation somehow.
There with his charity Sentabale, an organization he started to help young people affected by HIV and AIDS, an issue his mother championed as well. Their connection perhaps felt most profoundly at the prince's next stop, Angola. Princess Diana's trip here just months before her death in 1997 became her lasting legacy. Protected by body armor, face covered next to signs that read danger, sitting beside a young amputee who lost her leg. These iconic photos redefined how we thought about landmines.
I was so horrified by the scale of destruction that I wanted to get a more in-depth insight into the situation.
Diana's groundbreaking support turning what was a controversial issue into a humanitarian cause. Diana never got to see her legacy fulfilled. She died just months before the Ottawa Mine Treaty was signed by more than 120 countries. Being here, walking where Diana walked, you can see the impact that her work has made. Now Princess Diana's youngest son is carrying on her legacy.
And now Prince Harry is in Angola, walking down that same street his mother once walked, continuing her legacy. So let's go across the pond to Lama Hassan in the London Bureau for the latest. Lama, good Friday morning. Those are really iconic images of Princess Diana, and incredible that Prince Harry is now back there.
Yeah, and good morning to you guys. Absolutely. I mean, I think one could argue that this is perhaps one of the most poignant and symbolic moments of the Sussex's tour of South Africa, because here you have Prince Harry literally walking in his mother, Princess Diana's footsteps, recreating those iconic moments where Princess Diana famously walked through that field that was littered with mines, as I said, in 1997. Prince Harry is doing that. He is there to see the legacy of her work and to find out about the commitment and also the relationship that she had with the community there in trying to eliminate mines and how that's affected the community there. He's also there to build on that legacy. And just to give you some perspective, you know, Angola, which is where he is one of the most mined countries in the world because of the civil war from 1975 until 2002. And get this, the demining charity Halo says that it's difficult to actually pinpoint and come up with the number of mines that are littered across the country. But it does say this: since 1994, the charity has actually demined 100,000 mines. So that gives you an idea of just how grave the situation is. Now, one can't underestimate the importance of Princess Diana's work, all the work that she did back then in 1997, because 3 months after her death, 122 countries signed the Ottawa Treaty, which essentially stops the production and use of landmines. Prince Harry is there to continue that important work.
Very important work. And moving on to Indonesia, where officials are saying at least 23 people have been killed by magnitude 6.5 earthquake, and about 15,000 people are now being housed in shelters. What do we know about the damage?
Yeah, here's what we know so far about that. So we know that an earthquake measuring 6.5 hit one of the less populated provinces east of the country in the city of Ambon, killing, as you said, at least 23 people, damaging a building, many buildings, and a bridge. Some 2,000 people scrambled for safety, seeking refuge in some of the shelters that were set up across the city. Now, the head of Indonesia's Earthquake and Tsunami Center said this earthquake did not have the potential to cause a tsunami. But as you can imagine, many people in the coastal areas panicked and wanted to seek shelter and for higher ground, and that's understandable given the recent activity in the country. It was only last year that it was hit by a 7.5 earthquake. It hit the island of Sulawesi, killing at least 4,000 people, so it's understandable that people were panicking.
All right, Lama, and let's really end with some good news on this Friday for people who don't like to sit near crying babies on flights.
You know, yeah, I don't know what to make of the story as a mum myself.
No, it's good news, Lama.
I'm offended.
Lama, this is good news even
Lama,
for the parents.
I'm with you.
This is even, and after you tell us about it, Lama, I'll tell you why it is great news for everyone.
I find it discriminatory, but fine. Yep. I will wait to hear what you think about this. So Japan Airlines has come up with this new feature, this new tool that enables you, once you log on to book your ticket, you can actually find out where a child under 2 years of age is sitting. So if you are inclined that way and you want to avoid it, you can. But it's not 100% reliable, because if you book your ticket through a third party, for example, or there's a last-minute change to the aircraft, well, that doesn't necessarily reflect the changes to the seats. But there have been mixed feelings, as you can imagine, about this new feature. Some people are saying, hang on a second, be a bit more tolerant and invest in noise-cancelling headphones. Others are very happy about it. I think I know one of them, Kenneth, because, you know, they don't want to necessarily be sitting next to a screaming baby. Not all babies do scream.
That's
Lama.
Right.
So here's why I think it's great for everyone on that plane. So, okay, so the people who don't have kids and, you know, obviously don't want to be near the screaming kids, they can be in one little area. And then all the parents and the families with all their kids having a good time could be on like another little area, a little pocket of the plane. right?
I don't know about that. You know what? Be a bit more tolerant.
Absolutely.
You know? You were once a baby, right?
Right. And so I should definitely be more tolerant of the parent who won't stop their toddler from kicking the back of my chair. Got it. Got it.
Goodness.
For the chair that I paid for. Okay, I got it, Llama. I love you so much.
Have a bit more fun. Live
there
a little.
You go.
Yeah.
There you go. Llama, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
All right, let's get a check of our notifications. Starting with a school in southern Indiana trying to ban fifth graders from dating.
Parents got a letter about the no dating policy. It included a deadline for kids to end their relationships. Teachers say dating in the fifth grade causes too many broken hearts.
The letter said, quote, at this age, children are dating and breaking up within days of each other. This leads to many broken hearts, which carry over into the classroom. Parents and their kids were asked to review the letter and sign it, but some are refusing.
That is our question of the day. What do you think about the school's decision to ban fifth graders from dating? Tell us in the comments or tweet us at ABC News Live. And feel free to also weigh in on Japan Airlines separating telling people about where the crying babies are.
Show your true colors.
Just tell us whatever you would like to talk about.
Yep, we're open to anything. And a pilot whose phone fell from an airplane has gotten it back a year later. So he's getting some incredible view
over
as he's
Iceland.
way there, up high in the sky. And you'll see in a second.
When he comes around, he's getting a shot of that little bridge there that's like washed away, and then
the phone
and he's flying the plane, so you can understand why the phone can definitely go, because I need to keep both hands on the wheel.
But then a farmer found it and it worked.
Like, planes don't have wheels, do they?
No, they do. They're just not always.
Mark, what's it called?
Oh, the steering wheel? I don't know. The controls.
Stick? I don't know. Hey.
The yoke. There you go.
Plane parts. Hey, and we are dedicated followers of fashion around here, but this might go a little too far. It's a bag that's designed to be intentionally unfunctional.
It's got all those holes, so you can carry it like a clutch, but anything just falls out, and it costs like $1,600. So
that's what my dad used to say. There's a hole in my wallet dealing with you kids.
There you go. The man credited with breeding the first Labradoodle says he regrets creating the breed.
The first Labradoodle was for a blind woman whose husband was allergic to Labrador retrievers. The breed quickly became a sensation, spawning other designer dog mixes. Now, Willie Conron says he opened Pandora's box and released a Frankenstein monster. He says the breed has a higher risk for mental or physical problems.
Last night, the Eagles and the Packers put on one of the best games of the NFL season so far. Philly handed the Packers their first loss, 34-27. And we know Eagles fan Robert Dunphy was loving it. He has an eagle tattooed on his chest, along with plenty of other Philly-oriented ink, including the Philly Fanatic right there on his belly button. Robert drove to Green Bay, and he says his Eagles are winning another Super Bowl this season.
Such true fans there, Philadelphia. Grady was not on there. Maybe that's to come.
Yeah, to come.
All right, we turn now to a major heist at JFK Airport here in New York. $250,000 have been stolen.
A worker at Delta Airlines is under arrest, but the question now, where's the money?
This morning, the FBI is on the hunt for $250,000 stolen off an airport tarmac. 40-year-old Quincy Thorpe, a Delta Airlines employee, is now under arrest. Authorities say an armored vehicle was delivering 8 bags of cash to JFK Airport in New York to be delivered to Miami. According to a police complaint, surveillance video allegedly shows Thorpe scanning most of the bags and loading them onto a plane except for one. The FBI claims Thorpe placed that bag into a container attached to a vehicle. Then, according to the police complaint, he drove away in that vehicle.
He's denying it. They searched his home, they searched his car, they didn't find anything.
Thorpe was quickly identified after fellow workers said he went home sick around the time of the heist.
Thorpe has been released on bond. Delta says it's launching an internal investigation. As for all that cash, where it went remains a mystery.
Coming up, we'll give you a look at what's ahead on this Friday.
Plus, celebrations taking place in Cuba last night for a big anniversary for fans of the Beatles. After this. Here's what to watch out for today. President Trump is scheduled to participate in a High Holy Days call with Jewish faith leaders before speaking at a Hispanic Heritage Month reception at the White House amid that House impeachment inquiry investigating a whistleblower complaint alleging that Trump pressured the Ukrainian president to interfere in the 2020 election by investigating Joe Biden and his son.
Prosecutors rested their case against former Dallas police officer Amber Geiger, and defense attorneys will start calling witnesses this morning. Prosecutors said Geiger missed several cues that she was walking into the wrong apartment in the minutes before she killed both of them. Defense attorneys say Geiger reasonably believed she was walking into her own home.
Activists will hold another global climate strike today. In Washington, D.C., protesters plan to again block key intersections, and in New York, the Rise and Resist People's Climate Movement plan to protest outside the Bloomberg Global Business Forum.
And don't tell the dude, but for the first time, the Eagles will play their Hotel California album live in its entirety in Las Vegas. The Eagles' greatest hits album ranks as the all-time top seller, while Hotel California is the third biggest.
Plus, don't forget to tune into The Debrief for an update on all our top stories and The Briefing Room for a breakdown of the latest headlines in politics.
Finally, to the 50th anniversary of another most iconic album in modern music history.
50 years ago, the Beatles released Abbey Road, their last recorded studio album together.
And last night, the two remaining Beatles, Sir Paul McCartney and Sir Ringo Starr, celebrated with a big anniversary party in London. It comes as Cubans celebrated the anniversary in Havana. And in today's history lesson, dictator Fidel Castro had outlawed the Beatles' music, but the band became an underground phenomenon. Castro eventually allowed Cubans to openly enjoy their music.
Very fun.
Favorite Beatles song, go.
Yellow Submarine.
Oh, me too.
No. Pick another one.
Diane.
That's it from us on this Friday. It's been a long week, guys.
And
I don't know to call you out on it.
It's definitely not a Beatles song. Bye, everybody.